I'm a feminist, but I think pink lady apples are shite. And I've stayed silent on this issue in case people think I'm a misogynist. Because also I hate Granny Smith's apples too. Jazz apples, rise up.
I'm a feminist.
Yeah.
But I am currently wearing a nail polish on my toes that's called Mistress's Hole.
No.
Yeah.
Mistress's Hole.
Yeah. To be fair...
Oh, my God.
To be fair, someone gave it to me. They had been travelling internationally, and I think they'd got it somewhere in Asia. And you know how sometimes things go through a translation machine? It cannot mean Mistress's Hole. They just said, I got loads of nail polish when I got back. Do you want any of these? Because I bought a whole, they bought a set. Yes. And they were like, why don't you take a few? And I went, this one's nice. And I said, I'll have this one. It was like a pretty blue colour. And then I turned it, I quite like blue on my toes. Mm-hmm. And then I turned it over and went, it's called Mistress's Hole. And they went, yeah, some of them have got quite strange names. It's like they've been interpreted on a by AI.
Yes.
Mistress's Hole.
I love it. Because it's just, you're a bad girl, It's like, not only do I do extramarital affairs, but I have a hole.
Listen, I'm not gonna. I don't want people thinking I don't have a number of holes. I have orifices.
Oh, mate,
I don't want people thinking about them though. It's very tricky, isn't it? Because I don't want people to think I don't have them, and also I don't want people to focus on them in their imaginations. It's a very narrow target to hit.
I get that because, genuinely, I've been in hospital, right? Because I had what's it called? The skin infection thing, cellulitis. Right? Which people just kept, when I said I have cellulitis, they were like, I have that too. And I was like, no, that's cellulite. Cellulitis is it's a skin infection, right? And I got these blisters, but I have 2 holes in the front of my leg at the moment. And I feel like I'm a bowling ball or something. They're just, maybe I shouldn't joke about that.
Is there anything sexy about that? Having extra
if I'm
holes?
a mistress... I'm going to bring my holes. Sorry. Yeah. You could say everything. If you put mistress before, Mistress Hole, what else could you do? Mistress Car. That feels cool.
Mistress's car?
Yeah. It's a car bought by your paramour.
Paramour, that's not a word you hear often.
That's true. Yes.
I'm a feminist, but this week I bought new reading glasses. Ooh. And I have held on to these because these are my signature glasses, right? I got them from Shalise Cooper in New Zealand.
I was just going to ask you where you got them from.
During the lockdown, 90% of my career was answering the question on Instagram, where'd you get those glasses? And I thought, no one's going to recognise me with that glasses. I waited till it got so bad. My regular vision, I don't mean to brag, is better than 20/20. That's right. You think there isn't anything better than 20/20, right?
Yeah.
No. 20/20 is just a 2-1 in university degree terms.
What?
There is a first. If you're listening internationally, there's a first-class degree. There is a first in sight. I have it. And very few people have it. So don't mean to go on about it, but I do. However, not that there's anything good, bad, or indifferent. Oh, God, I'm in a fucking mire here. Okay.
How's your mistress's hole?
But my reading, and especially on screens, is quite bad. At the end of the day, I can't, even with my reading glasses, I can't see much sometimes. It just all goes blurry. So I finally gave in, because these are my signature glasses and I just wanted to keep them. I finally gave in and went to get my sight tested. These are 1.25. I need 2.75. But these are so pretty, and I feel they suit my face so well. I have struggled through any number of visual metrics.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than fix my... And they said, don't go with these because you're ruining your vision. I was like, oh, my God. So I got another pair that I feel make me look cleverer than when I'm in these.
And what, they work properly?
I'm a feminist, but this is how I choose reading glasses. I stand in the shop, I put my hair up in a little bun, I put them on, and then I take my glasses off and I shake my hair down. And if I think that I would be seduced in a 1940s film, I buy them.
Beautiful. You're like, who's that new girl at school?
Yes, exactly. If I think I would be invited to the prom, having done this...
Rebecca, there's something about you.
Yeah. If I think a man would realise I was the one all along, because I'd taken off my reading glasses, which make me look very clever, and shaken my hair out, then I think, yes, you have made a sale.
Beautiful.
I'll get 2 pairs of those because I'll lose one for sure immediately. I always have 2. I like to have 2 reading glasses because one's in the back. I don't lose them permanently, but one's here and one's there and one's here. The other one's usually on my head.
All the time. Like I like the clear framed glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I like to rock a bit of Deirdre Barlow. You know, from the Ken!
Feels like their face furniture. Do you have one more before we do stand up? Don't be sorry.
No, why am I saying that? I feel like it's very unfeminist of me to apologise all the time. Fuck you, Deborah. I'll do my I'm a feminist, but I'm gonna replace every sorry with go fuck yourself.
If you could.
I'll put it in emails.
If you could.
Go fuck you. Okay, I'm a feminist, right? But this is I think this might be controversial. I'm a feminist, but I'm getting really sick of the Barbie movie promo now. Like, we get it. It exists. It's like seeing water companies advertise their services. It's like, look, I've consumed you already. You don't have to tell me about yourself. You're great. Maybe that wasn't a joke. Maybe... If I'm honest with you, I wrote these I'm a feminist butts while watching television.
You doubled screened your I'm a feminist butts?
All the time. I was eating an apple. And then I was like...
These people don't want to hear that. They want to hear commitment to I'm a feminist butts.
I was leading a protest.
I'm a feminist butt. I'm now judging my sister and colleague slightly for doing hers while watching television.
Where do you do yours?
Where do I do mine?
Yeah. In a bath?
In a bath? What kind of life do you imagine I have?
Flake.
Yeah, while having an orgasm, eating a secret chocolate in a bath, like the television advertisements raised me to be. Yes, eating chocolate is a secret pleasure for me that I only do when my husband is out. I wait until he goes out, I lock the bathroom door in case he comes back because I don't want him to see the secret orgasm. And then I go, flake, and I break it off into tiny little delicate pieces and I put it in my mouth and go, And then when he comes home, I hide away the half I haven't eaten. Lol. And in a secret box so he can't see it, and I wipe it all off my lips and just have my little moment, because he must never see me any kind of processed sugar.
Absolutely.
But I know it's just my little me time. I hide the other half of the flake in my mistress's hole. Live from King's Place in London, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Francis-White, guest co-host Alison, Spittle, and our very special guests, Stella, Creasy MP, Lisa Hallgarten, and Dr. Felicia Yeung, talking about reproductive justice. This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. I'm Deborah Francis-White. With me is Alison Spittle, and we're talking about reproductive justice. So, reproductive justice...
I love that. That's my favourite Marvel character. Reproductive justice.
I could see you being reproductive justice, the superhero, at Halloween.
Oh, you could do so many quips, couldn't you?
Yeah, you absolutely could.
Consider yourself terminated. No. No.
That will be cut out of this show. Listen, there are some people now who listen to this show to hear stuff we say, take it out of context and put it all over the internet as if we're the bad guys. And what do you know what I say to them? A download's a download. Please welcome to the stage, and all the way from the House of Commons, just like literally to come in and give us 10 minutes of the facts, M to the P, it's Stella Creasy! Just for this bit, let's put Stella in the middle. Okay. And we'll go either side, and we'll grill Stella up, but in a lovely way, like a toasty grilling. It's a lovely toasty grilling. No, we're on board and we're on side. We need to give you a mic.
We can grill and we can high five.
We can absolutely.
When you've asked a question.
This is a collective grill. We're all grilling the terrible circumstances. We're not grilling you.
You're getting grilled from both sides. It's like a hotel toaster. Do you know those ones that you stare into?
When you go down and round.
Yeah, down and around.
You made it sound like a sex act, Alison.
Look, if I
never enough, twice you're burnt.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been to a party like that. I wouldn't go again. Once is always enough for a party like that. All right, but we're not here. M to the P, Stella Creasy. We are not here.
So abortion.
We're not here.
I know, it feels weird.
We're not here to talk about sex parties.
No.
Sadly. If
Everybody else in Westminster is.
Hey! If the world was set to rights, it'd be lovely to dabble in that folly. But currently, there's work to do.
Send me a WhatsApp.
I always do. You never reply.
Yeah, what's happening there? Have you ever had a WhatsApp of that nature?
No, but nobody sends me pictures anymore. I'm middle-aged.
Oh, I get lots of pictures of soup on WhatsApp. Never.
Whatever floats your boat.
It does. Literally floats me. I'm like a crouton. So, sorry. How do we get away from croutons onto abortion?
No. It's all good. Reproductive rights, Stella Creasy.
Yes.
Now, Roe versus Wade was overturned, and we thought, God, that's awful for America. We should campaign for America. There are other places in Europe that are struggling. But that would never happen here. We've unwisely thought.
Yeah.
But what is happening is there's a series of stealth-like bills coming through, some of which, on the face of it, are using feminist arguments or arguments that could sound quite reasonable. But it seems like the agenda is an alt-right agenda that's quite clearly... They're not asking, can we get what we want? But rather they're asking, what can we get? And can we chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away? Is that correct?
So it's worse than that.
Oh,
in the last couple of years, there has been a massive increase in the numbers of women being investigated and indeed prosecuted for having an abortion under legislation written in the Victorian era that also covers murder, attacking a clergyman, and throwing things at railway bridges. But that legislation is live in this country because it is actually illegal to have an abortion in England and Wales. Mm-hmm. You're just exempted from prosecution. And what's been happening in the last couple of years is there's been a massive increase in the numbers of women, often women having crisis pregnancies, often women having stillbirths, finding a police officer rather than a counsellor at the bottom of their hospital bed.
Mm. Where is this coming from? Because we thought, oh... Yeah, technically it's not decriminalised, but it's as if it is, we're fine. Of course, when you leave that loophole open, we're now seeing so many more women being investigated, so many more women actually being prosecuted, women awaiting sentencing. And this also affects other people of minority genders who can get pregnant who are not women.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
I don't want to sound like a Dan Brown novel or a bad Netflix series, but I think we should all be quite worried if we care about women's reproductive rights, because it's not just the increase in prosecutions, it is also, as you're saying, a piece of legislation coming into Parliament. What I can tell you for sure is that organisations like Right to Life are recruiting lots of members of staff. That costs money. As somebody who's been targeted myself, another anti-abortion organisation leafleted my entire constituency. That's quite expensive to do. If we look at the Charities Commission, we look at Companies House, we can see these companies have several £1 million now to spend on anti-choice activism in this country, whether it is in the NHS, in the civil service, with our police, at a local level. They're getting organised, guys, and we need to organise too.
It's interesting to me coming from Ireland because we had a referendum on it and it felt like abortion...
I've got the T-shirt.
Yeah. Nice, cool. It felt like abortion and the rights of pregnant people was being used as like a political football. It is in America. If you see the Democrats and the Republicans, the Democrats are always like, you got to vote for us. We got to protect, the right to choose. And yet Roe versus Wade is fucked now. Politically... wouldn't it be great if we could all just sort it out and this never be used? Like, we shouldn't even be politically talking about this. It should be, like, done and sorted.
Women's bodies are the battlefield of the culture war. And it's not just happening in America, it's happening across Europe. We should give a massive shout out to our sisters in Poland who managed to defeat attempts there but they still don't have abortion access. But you look at what's happening in Italy, look at what's happening around Europe in terms of people using women and equality issues to drive far-right political activism. Why do we think, I know we left the European Union, but that kind of politics is coming to our shores as well. And these people are in Parliament, they are in our judiciary, they are around our country, and they are organising and mobilising. And you can see it in the groups that have been set up ostensibly around safeguarding children in the NHS who oppose abortion. You can see it in the conversations that we seem to be having about sex selection happening in abortion, as if that was ever a thing that led to a government inquiry. We have to wake up. Like I say, I don't want to sound like a bad Netflix filler, but they have a lot of money and they're prepared to use it.
I've been looking into it, and there's a whole heap of money that's come from America and from the groups that used to stand up for abortion clinics, or still do probably, shouting and screaming, just said, if we go to the UK and say that, everyone's just going to go, no, no, no. So we have to ask, what can we get? What can we say where we'll sound reasonable? And so some of the bills are on things like disability rights, which is absolutely valid in terms of asking, if a fetus is seen to have a disability, are there questions that we need to ask around that? But they're going in on that angle and saying it's a feminist angle or an intersectional angle, but in fact they've got a much deeper agenda. And when you look into it, you do think, is this a conspiracy theory? But it's not. They can trace $72 million spent in the last decade, American dollars spent in Europe. Some of the money's come from Russia. I feel even scared saying this stuff out loud because they sue and they come after you. And it sounds... does this sound like a conspiracy theory to you? Because it does to me, and it's traceable.
But let me give you a genuine tinfoil hat on this, right? Because 2 years ago, we voted to have buffer zones in this country outside an abortion clinic on the basis that if you'd made the choice to have an abortion, you had the right to do it in privacy. You didn't need to have somebody in your face throwing rosary beads, whatever.
You shouldn't hear little freaks chanting at you or whatever.
Right. We explicitly voted that through Parliament. We still don't have buffer zones in this country because this government has written a consultation to directly overturn the concept of buffer zones. And that has happened not just with politicians, but with civil servants and people in the NHS on the ground, organising together behind closed doors. And that's a challenge for many of us who recognise that our abortion laws are outdated in this country. Like, the case for decriminalisation is overwhelming. When we've got 15-year-old girls suffering a year-long investigation only for a post-mortem to prove that they'd had a late-term stillbirth, we know we need to change the fact that that law is driving that to happen. The challenge is doing it in an environment when these guys are licking their lips and waiting for that opportunity to come forward with what seems like a reasonable proposal, seems like safeguarding, but is in reality about controlling what women can do with their bodies.
Could we, stop lobby groups? Could that be a thing of, because it feels like there's money being pumped into stuff for political gain. Could there be a law about that? Because it feels...
We've tried, because it happens on all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
And one of the things a lot of these organisations are doing, they're setting up as companies so they don't have to follow charities law. When they've come and they've protested against myself, the things that they do breach electoral law, as far as I'm concerned, that's not been followed up. This is a war, and if you think what happened in America could never happen here, you're not paying attention to what is being done. It's not about overtly banning abortion, it's about gradually reducing access and chipping away
until eventually, which they did in America anyway, by going, well, now, if you live in a certain state, they've sort of closed down the abortion clinic, so technically it might be legal. This is before Roe versus Wade was overturned. But if you can't access one, it's pragmatically illegal, even if it's not actually legal. Yeah. So can you tell us briefly what the bills currently that are being read are about?
So we have a criminal justice bill coming before Parliament. There are a number of proposals. There are proposals to reduce the time limit under which you can get an abortion. There are proposals to restrict whether you can have an abortion after 24 weeks with medical supervision. So those are the cases that are the hardest ones. They're often the fatal fetal abnormalities. And the idea that we would force a woman to carry to term a baby she knew was going to die is what is behind some of this. There's also proposals about removing some of the legislation. What we've put forward is trying to learn from Northern Ireland, because the good news is you can win these arguments. It gives me great pleasure that in Northern Ireland we have the most progressive legislation on abortion in the United Kingdom. It doesn't give the DUP much pleasure. And the reason we have that is because we fought for decriminalisation, but we also fought for something that I call the Northern Ireland Lock, which is to give the Secretary of State the direct responsibility for ensuring that our abortion legislation in Northern Ireland is human rights compliant. Because the Commission for International Development, the Elimination of Violence Against Women, says that not being able to access a safe and legal abortion is a human rights violation. Well, we signed up to that treaty here in England and Wales. So what we're proposing is to enforce that now when it comes to abortion. What that would do is it would stop these people acting behind closed doors and using their positions to try and restrict access, because it would mean the Secretary of State would have to go and argue with them and say, if you do that, I'm going to get sent to court. We have to get ahead of the backlash that is coming, because I promise you the backlash is coming.
And France has put it into their constitution now because of the same thing, because of the same people who are coming in stealth and chipping, spending money. They have been around for 10, 12 years, around that period of time. That's when they first came over and they started going, okay, let's get strategic, let's spend money, let's get close to influential people, and let's start making reasonable arguments, quote unquote, to limit, because they realised they weren't going to be able to come in and go, no abortion. But so if France has put in the constitution, we don't have a constitution, so they can't do that here.
No. But we can write this into this legislation, and we can also decriminalise up to 24 weeks, and we can protect the medics who are supporting women in those difficult decisions. That's what we're trying to do. I know that this works because in Northern Ireland they have buffer zones because of the Northern Ireland Lock. And I just want for my constituents in Walthamstow the same protections and the same champion to prevent them being abused of their human rights as the constituents have in Belfast. The other thing we're trying to do is find somebody who is directly responsible for any use of criminal law when it comes to abortion, which is why we want the Director of Public Prosecutions to sign off any intervention, because we don't know where those prosecutions are coming from and where those investigations are coming from, but we want somebody who has responsibility for it, and we want to make sure that even if we protect women, we don't end up targeting medics, because these guys have a lot of money and they have an agenda. We need to get ahead of it. We think we can do that, and I want you to be frightened and I want you to be worried about what these people are doing, but I also want you to be determined that collectively we can overcome it if we're clear about what would make a difference. Changing the law is never easy. It's just possible, and it's promise you it is worth doing, because it's taken a number of years in Northern Ireland, but they do now have access to safe, legal and local abortions.
How far along into pregnancy can people in Northern Ireland get an abortion, though? I think, aren't they fighting for, so that is...
Northern Ireland is slightly... complicated because it comes also in terms of the Good Friday Agreement and equalising with the Republic of Ireland. Yeah. So they have a different time limit. Nobody is suggesting in terms of the work that we're doing, and it's cross-party, so this is not a party political issue that we should reduce the time limit, but I am worried that there is a proposal on the table that seems ostensibly to be very reasonable about reducing the time limit. Like I say, actually... most women in this country have an abortion before 10 weeks, and we want to make sure that it's as easy as possible to access an abortion as early on when you've made that decision, and that also, frankly, you can make that decision without having to justify it. I don't think it's my right to intervene on that. That's what decriminalisation really means to me.
But some women
those late-term ones we've got to protect because they are the tragic cases, and those are the rights of people, and those people need compassion and care, not criminalisation.
And some women and other people who can get pregnant do not know they're pregnant.
Yeah.
This is the thing, 12 weeks. Sometimes people don't know, and if it's the first time you've ever been pregnant, or you're in a very marginalised socioeconomic position...
Or if you're a bit ditzy with keeping an eye on your period, those people exist too.
I mean, I've always been the worst with my period. I'm surprised every single month. I've been surprised every month of my life.
I'm genuinely
why am I so... I just feel like the world's ending, and then I get pain, and I think, oh my God, I'm dying, and I'm dying, and I'm going to die angry. And then I go,
really want a lot of chocolate, just a lot of chocolate, and like that bloke on the road just really annoys me.
Yeah. Periods are like calling my mum. I'm like, oh no, it's been a few weeks. I better check up on that.
I'm late again.
I'm late again. Yeah.
She's not going to be happy.
No, she is not. She is not.
So how many bills to protect our rights and to decriminalise are on the table at the moment? You've got
that's
one with
the
a bunch of
standoff. No.
MPs.
So there's one piece of legislation. We have to amend it, which limits what we can do. But that one piece of legislation contains both the anti and the pro proposals.
Okay.
So if you care about this stuff, look alive, people. Contact your MP. The one that we're proposing is new clause 40 to the Criminal Justice Bill. But look alive, tell your MP that's the way you want them to go and that you will protect them. Because I promise you, my inbox is full of people who oppose abortion who've been told by the anti-choice movement that this is all about killing babies at birth. It really isn't. This is about the dignity and the equality of women and the ability to make a choice. You know, the challenge with a lot of those amendments is it's about trying to tell women to carry babies to term that would not live or that would not be part of their families. And you just got to ask yourself, what kind of country are we if we don't protect the rights of women equally? You know, if men had to find 2 doctors to sign off having a vasectomy and justify why they wanted to do it, there'd be a national outcry. But somehow we think it's acceptable to treat women like that and deny them agency.
And the same people who are coming for this, and they are organised like you, and they're funded, also are coming for queer rights. And it's quite clear, and they're using queer rights as a wedge issue. You can look into it, you can Google it, and there's academics studying it, there's symposiums on it, there's forums on it, there's policymakers studying it. This is factual. I don't really know why the papers aren't reporting it, but I feel like I need to do a podcast on it.
Why aren't they reporting it?
Because
Why?
it's all the culture wars, and they will use it. So they'll say this is about abortion at birth. Nobody is changing the time limits. Decriminalisation does not mean deregulation. You know, you've got to bust their myths because everything they say is designed to be about heat, not light. We have to be the light and we have to be the hope for every single woman who wants the freedom to choose what happens to her own body.
Apart from right to wear MP, because if either you know your MP's for or against sort of thing, and once you've written to your MP, what else do you do?
Well, so we don't know quite when the votes will be, but they're probably going to come in the coming weeks. So be alert, be vigilant. When you see people promoting the stuff that is about anti-choice, challenge it. Challenge it from fact, though. Don't engage. You know, go full Michelle Obama. Go high, but go consistently high. So talk to them about the reality about this. This is about safe abortion. This isn't about changing the term limits. This is about ensuring people can get access as early as possible. And this is about making sure that we don't see abortion being restricted by the back door in those closed back rooms, because I promise you there's plenty of people looking to do that.
When I was researching this, I ended up on a Right to Life website, and I clicked something accidentally, which means that now on my laptop, it comes up, you know how you kind of subscribe to something and it gives you like not an email, but you get a sort of pop-up on your computer.
Yeah.
And I went, oh no. And then I went, oh, that's actually good. Because now I see all the time what they're doing and how they're arguing to their side about how reasonable and rational this is, and you know how. So actually, you need to know that stuff. So I hate to say.
Yeah, it's nice that you're carrying that pop-up to full term that they've given you choice.
I'm not terminating that pop-up because if they hear me, and they will know we're talking about this, and they will listen. They might cut me off, but I'm keep looking because I want to know what they're saying. And I want to know what they're arguing because I need to know what the other argument is. We cannot just stay in our bubble on this and talk to each other and shake our heads and go tut, tut, tut. We have to be reaching out and we have to be engaging. Ideally with your face. The internet is a bin fire now. Like I'm not saying don't post things, but I'm saying long arguments with people that get very flammable very quickly are not as useful as engaging. Even if you're talking to someone on the internet, can you say, can we DM? Because it helps when it's not a public wall, and that person can also be allowed to be reasonable because they're not in front of all of their friends on the internet thinking that they've got to kind of put up some kind of ninja-like fight against you.
Yeah, it just makes me so angry about British politics since I moved here. Like, I just feel maybe I'm the person that's fucked it up. But
it was you.
It's me.
That is the Netflix conspiracy.
But I feel like any question that, like I remember Rishi Sunak got asked something, and he's like, but this man doesn't even know that a man's a man and a woman's a woman, as if that's the answer. It wasn't even a culture wars question. And I feel like maybe since COVID we've become destroyed with culture wars, that the country can't even move on politically. We are absolutely fecked. And the last four prime ministers that we had, I'm probably, look, where Labour's going to get in, it's fine. Like, I'm happy. Sorry to, I feel like what I would love is for politicians, and it's really good that you're doing stuff for, to be pro-choice and everything, but I really want the culture wars out of politics. Like, I just want it gone, because I just feel like it's driving me insane that my body is being used as a political football for, I was going to say a bunch of pricks, but I don't mean it like that. But you know what I mean? Like, it just disgusts me.
This is the thing, is it's about generating heat, so it melts away anybody's willingness to talk. That's why you're right. I've sat down with people who don't agree with abortion. There are lots of people like that, and I have respectful conversations with them. That's not what these guys want. They want to sensationalise. They want to... go and have a look at Neil O'Brien and Isabel Oakeshott. They haven't even seen what we've proposed, and they're out there saying this is about killing babies at birth. That is designed to drive people away, because everyone kind of goes, ooh, don't let them do that. Educate yourself. Look at what is actually happening. Look at those prosecutions. Look at the cases. Understand the case before you say no.
And we've got to get organised because they are organised. We've got to get pragmatic because they're pragmatic. We've got to stop taking each other down at every single opportunity and say, you've said the wrong thing or you've said the wrong thing, because they're coming together, and it's time for the left, for the progressives to come together wherever possible, overcome differences and move forward organised and collectively, because otherwise we are not going to win.
I know, but I'm exhausted.
I know, but
you need the full-on Mean Girls speech. It's like, we need Tina Fey right now, bringing everyone together and putting them on the naughty step.
Absolutely.
We do need to get organised. Stella Creasy, thank you so much for schlepping all this way. We know how busy you are. Stella Creasy, enter the page. Right, we're going to have experts in the second half who are going to tell us other stuff. But I really wanted to hear from somebody who's in the Commons, who knows what's going on, and specifically and politically, because this is a political issue as much as we don't want it to be. That's where the decisions will be made. So we've got to dig deep and find out. What do you think about this? Do you feel like, is this true, or do you feel like this is scary, or what do you feel?
I feel tired. Like, I'm just, like, what annoys me is that, like, I left Ireland, and, like, with the referendum, with everything, I just feel, I think there should be a better word than triggered, but, like, the referendum is so hard, and, like, politicians, it just drives me insane that this is happening here. Sorry.
No.
Sorry. I'm shut up about it, but, like, I just feel so bad because I feel like it's just what's ahead of us is going to be fucking so annoying.
No, I understand.
I'm not even sad, I'm angry.
No, because you had to fight for so many years for abortion rights in Ireland, and now you finally have some. And it's starting over here. I understand. I do understand.
I just feel like I'm just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. I did tell you the tone at the beginning would not be as happy as normal. Would you like to see some stand-up comedy?
Can I?
And now Alison Spittle! Do you want to go backstage and have a little moment?
No,
because I can bring you out again like this hasn't happened.
No, genuinely, if I swallow twice, I stop crying. I don't know what it is. Something I've learned.
We've cried so many times on The Guilty Feminist. We have cried so many times. It's just normal.
Genuinely, it's gone. I'm done.
Listen,
we're happy. Yes.
You don't get this on Woman's Hour, and I think this is better because it's real. It's real. The crying is real. The anger is real. It's.
I know, and I went on a weird one at the end with Stella. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I'm asking, I just got very angry, just about the situation, like the future. But we're gonna have a good time.
Ready?
Wait there. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna wait there.
Reasonable response.
I'm gonna have a quick scream in the corner. Right. I'm done. Genuinely, I'm actually all right now.
Scream therapy.
Yeah.
Reproductive justice, I think, is a great name for your superhero for Halloween. I want to get you a cape.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Get me a cape. What else?
And I'm going to put on the cape, repeal the cape.
Beautiful.
And
that's a reference to Ireland.
Yeah, and you're going to have a big R for both repeal and reproductive justice. RJ would be RJ would be a great little logo on the front.
Yeah, I'm a 6th member of the Jackson 5. Reproductive Jackson.
I'm going to go on a large limb and say I don't think you should apply to be the 6th member of the Jackson 5. And it's just so complicated. There's so many reasons. It's hard to know where to start. But I certainly know where to finish before you've started.
Don't blame it on the sunshine, blame it on the right.
Yeah. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on Trump.
Very good. Very good.
He didn't start this. He was just he doesn't give a fuck. Can you imagine how many abortions that man has personally paid for?
He has his own clinic.
I mean,
the Trump. It's gold. It's gold.
On. This is what kills me in America, is that all the men who have pushed it through have done so for absolutely mercenary reasons, just allegiances with people who do really want it, who say we can get you votes. There's a whole documentary about it and how Reagan was very pro-choice, and then the religious right came along and went, we'll get you all the votes if you just say you're pro-life. And he went, which I hate the term pro-life anyway because it's not really pro-life. It's anti-reproductive justice. But those same men, as if they haven't, I don't know about Reagan. I don't want to go around saying how many abortions Reagan's paid for because I've no information on that.
I don't know how many, but I've heard stuff about. No, that's unfeminist of me.
I have no information about Trump, but I am willing to absolutely say he has paid for abortions. Of course he has. Of course he has. And so there's an extraordinary thing that those men who always know that if any woman in their life, any woman they knock up or any woman they know and love wants an abortion, it doesn't matter how bad it is, they will get it. They will pay for it. They can pay their way out of any law they make. And that's why they're happy to make laws for the rest of us. That is true. They will always be in the seat of power and the seat of influence. And so, but that has completely emboldened what is going on over here. And there's a lot of the same people behind it. So it's really important that we have this conversation tonight, but not in a way, Alison, that ideally makes you cry. Although, I don't know. I think crying is a very reasonable response, and I kind of like it. I kind of like that we share our emotion about it. Like,
that's true.
It makes it real.
I'm just angry. So I hate that I cry when I'm angry because I feel that's not giving the emotion that I want to give. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but that's only because we're trying to replicate a patriarchal style of male anger. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did a whole episode years ago about Brexit, and I was like, I'm going to try and give this speech without crying because I don't want to give the impression that I am sad when I'm angry.
Yeah.
But actually...
Because I don't want to be seen as manipulative. Because that's what tears feel like to me.
Oh, I've never thought of that.
I've
never thought of that.
Have you not?
Not in that situation where you're crying with emotion on stage, because I think there's a big difference between crying just as the plane's boarding and saying, but please, I need to see my grandmother before she has an operation, and
I need to get in
let you on.
First class.
Exactly.
I need some Prosecco in a plastic glass, please.
Yeah. That feels so different to me from crying with rage about an injustice issue on stage in front of an audience. I don't feel like you're trying to get anything from this audience unless you are trying to get them to come to your show or give you money.
I want lasagnas.
You want what?
I'm joking about lasagnas.
Oh, you want lasagnas?
Yeah.
If anybody would quickly do a Deliveroo of lasagna for Alison Spittle and have it delivered to the stage, she'd really appreciate it. So no, I don't think about that. If I'm on stage, but I have in the past tried not to cry when I'm angry because I think people don't read it the way that you feel it. But I'm starting to go, well, let's reread angry tears. They are valid. Just because men who run, huge tech companies aren't, the stereotype is not that they cry when they're angry, that they shout and they scare people, doesn't mean angry tears aren't valid.
Yeah.
So I say, reframe angry tears.
I know, that it does feel like
It's another job to do with feminism though, isn't it? And I feel like we've got a lot on, so maybe don't.
It never ends.
Don't worry about that one. That's not the hardest one. Hello, Guilty Feminists. This is Deborah. Our tour Down Under begins, and we can announce our amazing co-hosts for these shows.
on the 11th of May in Auckland, the 14th of May in Wellington, and the 15th of May in Christchurch, I am going to be co-hosting for the first time with the incredible stand-up comedian from Aotearoa, Michelle Accord. I know she's huge in New Zealand and a massive feminist, and I'm very, very excited. We tried to work with her before, and her daughter very inconveniently gave birth that night. So I can't think of a more feminist reason not to come. So we're very, very excited. Then we'll be in Adelaide on the 18th of May with Geraldine Hickey. After that, we're coming to you, Perth, on the 20th of May with Claire Hooper. Then we'll be in Sydney on the 23rd of May with Geraldine Hickey. And then we'll be in Melbourne on the 25th of May. I am not allowed to say who the co-host is, but she is a big Australian favourite and she's amazing. I am not allowed to announce her yet because she's so famous and fabulous. And the guest is a A-list Australian star. Again, we're just getting permission to announce her. So I would recommend, if you're in Melbourne especially, our tickets are going fast everywhere, but I would recommend if you're in Melbourne especially, you get your tickets now before the announcement is made, because you are going to want to see these people. And we also have some incredible activist voices and other special stuff going on. The last 2 dates are in Brisbane on the 27th of May with the wonderful Alice Fraser, and in Canberra on 28th of May we end the tour with Kirsty Wiebeck. Grace Petrie's coming out and she's doing all the dates with me. We're also going to have poets, activists, incredible guests. It's going to be, do you remember how buzzy the tour was last time and everyone was hysterical at the end? It's going to be like that again, so do not miss out. Get tickets now at guiltyfeminist.com and click on live shows. You can also get an ad-free version of the podcast from Patreon, Apple Podcasts or Acast Plus from as little as £2.50 a month. And that really helps to support the podcast and pay all the wonderful people who support me in bringing you The Guilty Feminist every week. You can also show support in a way that costs you nothing by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and giving The Guilty Feminist a 5-star review, even though you've done it before, because it really, really helps other people find us in a very crowded market with a weird algorithm pushing people further to alt-right content every week. And so we'd really, really love it if you'd tell people about it, share it online. And now back to the podcast.
Put your hands together and make incredible woohooing noises for Alison Spittle.
Give me a hum, right? You just have to react in a humming way. That's like the offer. So give me a hum if you've ever had worms. Give me a hum. Okay, that's all right. Not many of you. That's okay. Give me a hum if you've ever had lice before. More people are willing to admit they've had lice than have had worms. They're both parasites. And I get why. It's because of the way they were conditioned as children. Like, for instance, I'll tell you, when I had lice, I said to my mum, "Mum, I got lice," right? And she got the medicine down from the cabinet, got a comb, and she's combing for my hair. And she'd sit me down in front of the EastEnders omnibus, right? And she'd be combing for my hair, and she'd be going, "Alison, look at this." She'd pull a little lice from my scalp, and she'd show it to me really up close. And she'd be like, "Alison, look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it nature? Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous?" And then she'd crush its skull in front of my eye, right? And she would go to me, "Alison, don't worry. The lice only pick the cleanest of heads. It's the cleanest of hair that the lice pick." Now, when I had worms, it was a totally different scenario. I'll tell you how I found out I had worms. It was the summer of 1998. I, a small child, had a deep feeling within me for a few months that I could only assume, as a Catholic child, was the Holy Spirit. And I was so excited. Because I was, as a Catholic child, I thought if you felt the Holy Spirit for a long time, that can only mean one thing. And that was going to get an apparition. And I was like, oh, who am I going to get? Am I going to get Jesus, Mary, God himself? Who from the Marvel Catholic universe am I going to see? And could be even Princess Diana. I mean, I consider her Catholic. I didn't know. And I did what anyone would do if they thought they were going to meet God. I got myself ready, I went to the toilet. And I don't know why I did this, right? I only do this twice a year. I look back at the toilet paper. It's a lot like looking at the stock markets, you know. I do it twice a year and I go, how does this affect me? And the toilet paper came to life on my hand like Fantasia, right? Just absolutely dancing upon my hand, right? And so I went, Mammy! Mommy! I have worms, right? She came running up the stairs and there was none of that same reassurance she gave me with the lice. There was no, oh, Alison, don't worry. The worms only pick the cleanest of arseholes. It's the cleanest of anuses these worms pick. No. She just boiled every sheet in the house and told me, keep this a secret forever. But I'm a comedian now, Mammy. I'm on my podcast. I hold no secrets. By the way, I'm 25 years worm-free. Don't worry. I'm proud. I used to do a lot of material about being mentally ill, but I feel like everyone's becoming a bit more open about their mental health, you know, comedians as well, so I don't feel as special anymore doing my mental health material. So I've pivoted now into the parasitic worm community. I will be the voice for the voiceless, which are the worms themselves. And they want more sugar. You've been lovely. Have a great one. Bye.
Alison Spittle, everybody!
Take a second and think back to the sex education you had in school. Did it prepare you to have a healthy and happy relationship with sex and identity? If it was anything like mine, it was stigmatizing, judgmental, and totally unhelpful. But not to worry. The experts are here to offer the sex ed we wish we had. Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. We're a feminist podcast and multimedia platform bringing you all the sex ed you never got through unique and entertaining storytelling, centering LGBTQ and BIPOC experts. We cover an array of sex education topics like abortion, period management, sex and disability, pleasure, reproductive justice, healthy relationships, BDSM, birth control, sex in the media, and so much more. We believe that everyone deserves comprehensive, inclusive, pleasure-centered, medically accurate sex education. Follow along with us as we revolutionize the way we talk about sex, and tune into Sex Ed with DB wherever you get your podcasts.
Our next guest is Head of Policy and Public Affairs at Brook, the national sexual health charity. She is an educator, writer and campaigner championing the sexual and reproductive health and rights of all young people. Please welcome to the stage the incredible Lisa Hallgarten. She is joined, come join us, Lisa. She is joined by an NHS doctor specialising in sexual and reproductive health, specifically to provide abortions. Outside of work, she's on the board of the Reproductive Justice Initiative, formerly known as Decolonising Contraception. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Felicia Yeung. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about this stuff. We really need to know. We've heard a bit from Stella Creasy tonight because I wanted to know what was being said inside the House of Commons, because that's where the decisions are being made, there in the House of Lords. So I'm going to ask you now, as experts, as a doctor and a public affairs expert, can I ask you, what's happening now with abortion? Shall we start with you, Lisa?
Yeah, so it's a complicated picture, and I think people might come away from the earlier talk thinking that everything's a complete disaster. There's lots of challenges. There's lots of things we need to be alert to. It's really important to understand the context, which is that we've had over 50 years of legal abortion, and for the vast majority of people who want to access abortion, they can do so. It's free. It's legal, it's extremely safe, and it's extremely straightforward. The other good news is the vast majority of people in this country are pro-choice, and that's because 1 in 3 people who can get pregnant will have an abortion in their lifetime. So we all know and love many people who've had an abortion or more than one abortion. So that's a different bit of context from what we heard earlier, and I think that gives us a lot of hope. And in that context, it's even more bizarre that we're being subjected to this kind of culture war approach to abortion.
But can I ask, when you say it's legal, we don't have decriminalisation yet, but if 2 doctors sign it off, it is legal.
Yeah, so this is a complicated thing because we're still wedded to an 1861 law, a law that was passed before women had the vote, before the light bulb was invented, and when abortion was almost entirely very, very unsafe. In 1967, through a private member's bill, abortion was made legal in certain circumstances. And the limit on that is that 2 doctors had to agree that you meet certain criteria and that your abortion fits certain grounds. So there are certain criteria that you tick to get that abortion. Now, because the vast majority of people within the health community understand that abortion is healthcare, it's really essential to people's lives, it's a really important part of reproductive health. Over the years, they've actually made access simpler and simpler and simpler, leading to, ultimately, telemedicine abortion, where people under 10 weeks, unless they have any particular reason not to, can actually take abortion pills, have them sent to them at home, take them at home. And that's because the whole of the medical establishment recognises the importance of safe abortion. But ultimately, we're still in that criminal framework. And maybe, I don't know, Felicia might want to say more about that.
Dr. Felicia, what would you like to add to where we are with abortion now?
I'm trying really hard to be serious because I love talking about abortion. I will talk about it. I've got a number of friends in here. They will all agree. I can talk about abortion forever, but all I can think about right now are worms. So I just needed to get that off my chest. I felt like the tone change was too sudden for me, even though I know I'm here to talk about it.
Good. Do I need 2 doctors to sign off?
We'll have a little sidebar afterwards.
It's very hard to talk about, because I joke. Because as in, not to bring it back to Ireland all the time, but abortion has been a big part of my adult life, and I joke about it all the time. The same as sexual assault. I wouldn't do it on a podcast, but it feels very hard to tonally correct myself when I talk about abortion, because it's a part of so many people's lives, and we should be allowed to, I think, joke about stuff. Sorry to bring it there. So, don't feel in any way that you have to do any sort of tone. Genuinely, people can go fuck themselves. I'm allowed, I don't understand. I do. We're in a culture war. I get it. We have to, but don't worry. But you can talk any way you like. We'll just edit it out anyway. There's definitely some bits of the earlier interview that I would like edited out.
Yeah, you can edit anything out.
The bit that I cried. I was like, hello, Stella. Screaming.
I think people at home will like it, I think, because if they see that it really affects people,
Yeah.
So, Felicia, what's happening now with abortion?
I am coming at it from a perspective, so I am specifically training to be an abortion provider. I already do provide abortions. I'm training to develop more skills in it. There is still so much stigma around it. So I firstly wanted to say thank you to you and to everyone who's ever shared their abortion stories. The more we talk about it, the more we recognize what a normal, common part of life it is. I think what I really want to say about abortion is, actually I'm just going to reiterate what Lisa said. It's safe, it's common. People have been having abortions for absolute ages, and the absolutely terrifying thing that Deborah has already mentioned a number of times is the tinfoil hat coming back on. There was an article just a few days ago talking about where is all this support coming from. And when we think about... So, a bit of background context. I'm from Canada. I've been in the UK for over 15 years. From a perspective of when you live in Canada, you basically just learn about America all the time. And hearing about all the anti-abortion protests and thinking, when I came here, that still seemed to be a separate thing. But I've really seen a shift in the 15 years, particularly in the last few years, really ramping up of that it feels like it's the stirring up of the culture wars again. There's all this money funneling in, going into Facebook ads, into flyering and
anti-abortion stuff.
Anti-abortion stuff, and that's very, very chilling for me.
How serious is it? How organised are people who are anti-abortion in this country?
So I think this was actually a Brooke report, I remember a number of years ago, there's this concept called crisis pregnancy centres, where places pretend to provide healthcare. So they're like, if you Google, I have an unplanned pregnancy or I need an abortion or something, and they'll come up, they've paid, or I don't know how the formula works, but they managed to get to the top of the Google.
They've done SEOs, so they've paid Google to do that, and they've done that intentionally. So that's the first thing that someone who is in a crisis pregnancy, it's such a weird term, but like that they would find that. It happened in Ireland a lot.
So it happened in Ireland, and some people are surprised it happened and still happens here in this country. In this country, it was found that there were even links from like NHS websites because they're that good at hiding in plain sight. They're like, come to us, we'll give you help. We'll do you an ultrasound scan. We'll show you the picture. That is one example, I think, of just quite how insidious when they've managed to enmesh themselves into the NHS, where there were like GP surgeries that were handing out these leaflets, CCGs that don't exist, but basically the people who hold the money for the NHS, again, they were linking people to these. That is a very chilling thing for me, that they've really managed to enmesh themselves in.
How do we fix it? Is decriminalisation the answer?
Well, right now, as Stella mentioned, there are people who are being investigated and prosecuted for having their own abortion by their own choice outside of the legal framework. And that can mean anything. That can mean someone taking medical abortion at home after 10 weeks, or it can mean somebody having an abortion after 24 weeks after the legal limit. So there's because the law is very specific and very strict, there are many, many ways in which you can break the law. And in the past, there have been very, very few investigations and prosecutions, but what we've seen in the last 18 months or so is a massive ramping up. People are being reported by medical staff, we don't know why, midwives, possibly paramedics, and they're being investigated. And this is leading to extreme stress and misery for people who are already in a very stressful situation. Some of these people have ended their pregnancy intentionally. Some of them have had miscarriages, some of them have had stillbirths. And this is the kind of behaviour that we've looked at in Latin America over the years and said, this could never happen here. You know, in El Salvador, there are women in prison who've had stillbirths, absolutely no evidence that they had an illegal abortion. And we're starting to see that same kind of suspicion of anyone with an unexplained pregnancy loss. And the only reason these investigations and prosecutions can happen is because we're still embedded in this 1861 law. So taking people out of that law is a really critical thing. Now, decriminalisation means many different things in many countries. In Canada, where Felicia comes from, abortion is completely decriminalised, and there's been absolutely no negative outcomes whatsoever of that. People do not decide, now it's decriminalised, I'm going to go to the supermarket and buy an abortion. It just doesn't work like that. The same all over the world, whether it's legal, illegal, safe, unsafe, expensive, cheap, people will have abortions. And so we do have to look at the law, and what's happening now is that there are amendments to the Criminal Justice Act which would take all people who have their own abortion, all women and other people who are pregnant and have an abortion by their own choice, out of the criminal law. And that is a really essential starting point right now when we're in a crisis, when people's lives are being ruined by these investigations.
It's just mad that the police have the time to investigate this. When, like, if you get burgled, they're like, ugh, sucks to be you, you know? It's just mad where the resources are going to. Not all police, but anecdotally, 3 of my friends got burgled. Nothing's been done about it. But if you have a stillbirth, oh.
Yeah, it does seem extraordinary. What's going on? Like, do we know who is suddenly... Because this didn't used to be the case. Women were not prosecuted for this. Do we know why suddenly women are being prosecuted? Do we know where it's coming from?
In short, no. I think we can make some educated guesses. I mean, when we kind of look at like the different steps of it, there's quite a number of steps that have to happen before the police are getting involved. Which is, firstly, someone has to communicate that to the police, and there is a bit of work that's being done right now to speak to healthcare providers, to say, really think about what you're doing, and actually, this is what the law says, this is what our ethical practice, what the GMC or whatever your regulating body tells you in terms of like medical ethics. We have a duty to the person in front of us. We have a duty to their confidentiality. Like, confidentiality is a cornerstone of that relationship between someone who provides care and the person who's seeking care. There's definitely work to be done in terms of communicating to people, this is not the way to help people. This is actually causing immense harm. And decriminalisation is an absolute essential part of how we're going to move forward and realise reproductive justice. But I wanted to pick up on something that Lisa mentioned, which is that this amendment, so we've been talking about amendments, and I'm a policy nerd, but I get really confused by like legal legislative terms. What we're talking about is an amendment to a criminal justice bill. And I want to highlight this in particular because from the perspective of someone who is seeing people coming into my clinic, hearing people's stories, we need to be very careful about the price at which progress is made. So there's been, when you started that question, it's like, what is the state of abortion now? One can look back at the last 5-10 years and say, we've had a lot of wins, but there's a lot of background that is missed out. So at what cost? So we got buffer zones brought into England. I remember the like WhatsApp chats pinging off that night to be like, hooray, absolutely amazing. But there was no mention of the fact that this was attached to the policing bill from a few years ago that I remember, I know Guilty Feminists did cover, which has absolutely decimated the right to protest. Like, how can we have progress when we don't have the right to protest anymore, when we can't be, I think the tagline was noisy and annoying. That was me doing my homework for tonight, listening to the Guilty Feminists. So that was the policing bill. That was the progress from 2 years ago. And what we're looking at now is decriminalisation, but attached to a bill that criminalises what's called nuisance rough sleeping. So if someone is sleeping in the wrong place, if someone's a bit too smelly, they can be charged, I think, something like $2,500. $2,500. Why are this? How does that make any sense?
I don't understand how that's part of the same bill. Anything to do with reproductive justice? What is that?
I don't know. I think they have a point. Like, if you're wearing Davidoff cool water, you should be jailed. Keep the bill, actually, guys.
You were obsessed with Davidoff water. I mean, I think it's not part of the same bill, is it?
It is. So the problem in this country is that there's no opportunities to do progressive work around abortion in Parliament. The only way you can get any progress is if a particular MP who's committed to progress wins out of 650 MPs a place in the private members' ballot and can put a private members' bill through. That's how we got the Abortion Act in 1967.
Yeah.
So the chances of having the MP who you want to win that ballot and put a bill through Parliament, only 3 bills go through Parliament each year with a private members' bill. Wow. So we're stuck with trying to amend existing legislation. And the piece of legislation that we're amending is, as Felicia says, an egregious, immoral, wicked bill.
Yeah.
So everybody in our sector feels very compromised because we're attaching something that is potentially good to something that's absolutely appalling. And quite frankly, a lot of us would like that bill to fail, even though that would mean that our amendments fail. So we're in a very morally conflicted position around that.
It feels like reproductive rights are like the parsley on a shitty fascist risotto that gets served up. And you're like, but you like the parsley.
I've heard about this thing about homeless people, like this horrible thing about homeless people being charged $2,500. Where are they going to get $2,500? What are they fucking talking about?
Or thrown in jail.
It's so disgusting. But I don't understand why that bill has got anything to do with decriminalising abortion. Criminalising homeless people and decriminalising abortion. How are those two things packaged together? That makes no sense.
Well, it's like we don't give a fuck about you after you're born either. Do you know what I mean?
It's a very good point.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of pro-life people are like that, though. They will pump the money into fighting, like, reproductive rights.
Fighting for...
Rather than a children's charity or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if they actually did give a fuck about, like, the unborn, as they call them, they did make up a term for that, and where's their charitable...
instinct for the actually born.
Yeah.
So I mean, to kind of come back to what you were asking, Deborah, this is why I like to look at the world through a lens of reproductive justice. So I'm a trustee for an organization, Reproductive Justice Initiative. Give us a follow. Also give us a donation. Thank you very much. Which is... It's a way of looking at the world, a framework that came out of the US. It's rooted in the idea of human rights and black feminism. And it actually developed because people felt that the language of pro-choice, even though it's very mainstream and depending on the audience, I'll still use it, but the language of pro-choice doesn't reflect all people's realities. Like there are some people for whom the idea of choice is not really a choice. And I'm going to give you a few examples about like how I think we in this country are failing and are being failed by some of the policies. Like reproductive justice, that's not, we don't have it here. So reproductive justice, it's the idea that people have the right to have a child, the right to not have a child, and the right to parent that child or their children in a safe and healthy environment. And after however many years, I've lost count now, of austerity, cuts to public services, we're now in a position where I see all sorts of people either coming to me for contraception, for abortion care, just to talk through their choices, their options. In the context of a 2-child benefits cap, in the context of a cost of living crisis, in the context of what sounded like excellent headlines, this policy promise of 15 hours of free childcare, but the reality is that it's not funded, and that has meant that people are actually going, being like, hey, can I have my free childcare so I can, I need that bit of help, and they're being turned away because centres literally can't afford to provide that care. And on top of that, I've also seen people coming to clinic, and this applies for abortion care, this applies for any number of health reasons. People who are delaying coming because they're afraid that if they come to see us in the NHS, that they'll be reported to the Home Office and then deported.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is
horrifying.
To bring the tone down even more.
We should all have a collective screen just right there.
So what's your aspiration? I want to give the audience a chance to ask you some questions, but what's your aspiration? What would it look like if you had the opportunity to change it? And how can we decriminalise without supporting bills that also criminalise for other things?
I mean, on the last part of your question, it's a matter of immediacy and urgency that we stop these prosecutions. So actually, the whole sector will get behind any amendment that takes women out of the criminal justice system in relation to abortion at all points in pregnancy. Most of these arrests are happening for people after 24 weeks, so it has to be taking people, women and anyone who can get pregnant out of the criminal justice system for the whole period of pregnancy. And there will be an amendment that offers that, and we will be asking people to write to their MPs and get them to support any amendment that does that. My bigger aspiration would be much broader. It would be around those reproductive justice issues. How can we make a world in which people's choices aren't constrained by realities that are oppressive, by economics, by poor housing, by prejudice and racism? How can we make sure that when we say every child a wanted child, which is a slogan that's been used for decades to talk about an individual's choice, we're actually saying every child a child that is wanted and cherished and loved by the whole of society, and isn't just the responsibility of the person who carries it for 9 months and gives birth to it. So there's other aspirations around that, which I guess are around better contraceptive care, better education at Brooke, we've been going for 60 years providing contraceptive care for young people and providing education for young people. That's another thing that's coming under attack in this culture war, is comprehensive and inclusive sex education. So there's a whole package, and ultimately it's about us having a society where we kind of go, most people who are having sex are not having sex to get pregnant every time. We're having sex for pleasure, for intimacy, for trust, for enjoyment, for endorphins. Our bodies are beautifully designed for pleasure. Let's create a world in which that's not shameful and disgusting. Let's create a health service that recognises that and celebrates that. And I guess it's a much more sex positive outlook in which people can have sex, not have sex, that we are better at consent, we're better at all those conversations, and that we just stop all the kind of shame and stigma which actually makes people sick and constrains people's choices and is making us all be weirdos and not talk about our experiences.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I wish we could like Liz trust you and get you to be Prime Minister for like 2 months. Fuck some shit up, right?
I'd happily have you for 4 years and see where we can get.
No, get that stuff done. Put a toaster in every hotel room.
My maths is very bad. The economy would be shit.
No, we'll get you advisors. It's not like that. I mean, the thing is, do we honestly think that Boris Johnson is cleverer than you? No. If he can't do maths, I don't know if he can do maths or not. He probably doesn't know either. He probably says, get some chaps in, good boffins, money. I bet you anything he's not good at maths. Okay, have you got any questions that you would like to ask Felicia or Lisa?
Hello, I'm the journalist that came and harassed you earlier. So my name is Phoebe. I'm a reporter with a company called Tortoise Media. So we do slow news investigations podcast.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We try to do good stuff. We're one of the good ones.
You got good podcasts.
Thank you very much.
Agreed.
So I've actually been reporting on these women. I've been working with them. I've met some of the women being prosecuted. I have to be a bit careful legally what I say. Because I've been to some of the court cases, but I think just to say these women feel really alone. It can be really isolating. These investigations are isolating. There's things they can't say, they can't speak out while you're being investigated by the police. You can probably guess my politics by the fact I'm here. But that kind of doesn't matter. These women, I just want to be really clear, these are intersectional issues. Some of these women are victims of domestic abuse. There's coercive control involved. I've worked with one woman, and I can say this, and there's an article online if you want to go and look and read about it. There's a judgment from the family court. Her existing children were removed from her care and taken away from her. Shocking. Because of the investigation, because of the police investigation. And I think, if you really want to work and you want to kind of get involved in this, share these women's stories, talk about it. I mean, it's not just Carter Foster. There's 2 more cases going through court this year. There's 2 more trials that are coming up, one in May, one in September. That may depend slightly on the kind of the laws going through Parliament, but the way it works is it takes a while, and there's possibly a general election coming at any point in the next year, who knows. And I think it's just really important that you educate yourself, that you look at the legal side of it. This is a criminal justice issue. It's not just a reproductive rights issue. So if you're interested in that, make sure you read up, inform people about it. Just a little fun fact for you, for people who've been looking at Arizona and being a bit interested in what's going on over there. So Arizona became the 15th state in the US to ban abortion. It's now the only of the 15 states in America that criminalizes a woman for managing her own abortion. The other 14 states, and yes, including Texas, don't criminalize a woman for having her own abortion and for self-managing her own abortion. Sorry, I know this is not a question, and I've just kind of taken the mic, which is very journalistic of me to do.
No, it's great.
But I just thought it would be good to do that and to just show that there are journalists out here who really care about what's happening and are willing to report this in a way that is fair and is compassionate to these
So we
women.
need to share those articles, find and share those articles. What's your full name, Phoebe?
Phoebe Davis, and I report with Tortoise.
Okay,
That's great.
But there's lots of other reporters doing this as well that have been attending the court cases.
So find and share. Is there anything else we should be doing? Because I feel always that sort of like write to your MP, but either your MP, yes, do that, obviously, but either your MP is going to be like, yeah, or they're going to be like, no. And then what? Like, either they yes, it always helps for them to know you can't stay in power if enough people feel like this, and if more of them are writing in than we're writing in, that will have an impact because they like staying in power. But what else can we do?
Thank you, Phoebe. I really wanted to pick up on center people's experiences, listen to people's stories, go actively search for the voices that are seldom heard. I think the only way to really get through this and to actually realize a better world, a world in which people actually have control over their bodies and their lives, have bodily autonomy, whether it's your gender identity, whether it's your decision to be pregnant or not. In order to do that, we have to retain humanity. We have to make this actually about humans and people. It gets very muddled in that language to be like the cutoff of this and gestational limit this. And I was still thinking about what you said about what kind of world are we looking for? And I think one where people get to make decisions about their own bodies, where decisions about their own bodies are not gate-kept by medical doctors, by any kind of health professionals, but specifically it's often doctors who are given power by the state to make these decisions for people. So I think centering people's voices, that means there's incredible work being done by community groups that are very much struggling in this increasingly, I think they call it fiscally tight. There's no money. There's no money, and people are really struggling to continue doing the kind of activist work, the organising work that actually gives us progress.
So who should we be raising money for, giving money to? Because we could do a campaign where we raise some money. How much money would be meaningful? What would make a difference? And is it giving it to Brooke? Is it giving it to Reproductive Justice Institute? Who is it giving it to?
I actually think the reality of today's world is probably wherever you are in the world listening to this is finding your local abortion fund. So these are funds that actually facilitate getting people abortions.
Abortion Support Network is a good...
Abortion Support Network is one that works specifically with people based in Ireland.
Sorry.
No, I mean, they're amazing. Within Europe, I think,
Supporting abortion for everyone, safe.
Safe, that's what I was like, safe, I didn't know.
We don't have much time left because we've got a fantastic musician to close the show, but can we just do one very quick question over here? And we'll try and be fast in answering it.
Hello. Firstly, just thanks for actually having the conversation, because I think that just goes so far into actually letting people understand what's going on. And going back to the criminal and policing bill that came out 2 years ago, again, it's because I was following people online that I was like, fuck me, there's all these links which people don't know because we're attaching things into laws. So thank you for kind of having the conversation. Secondly, hello to Rhiannon, who did want to be here tonight but isn't. So hello. My question is, kind of going back to what Stella was talking about earlier, she mentioned the Irish lock and the fact that we have the humanity side of it. So if you start looking at it as a human right and the fact that you deny access, but there's also rumours at the moment that we're removing ourselves from the ECHR, and obviously the UK Human Rights Act isn't quite as good.
And ECHR is European Commission for Human Rights.
Yes. So my kind of question is how will that then impact our ability to achieve something such as the Irish lock within the UK? And does the UK human rights give us enough to be able to do that anyway? So.
I mean, I would say that whatever this Parliament passes, another Parliament can undo. There's no such thing really as a lock. We don't have a constitution, so we can't give people a constitutional right to anything. So we have to work with the Parliament we've got, and we have to elect the Parliament we want.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more very quick question, and we'll try and answer it in one sentence. You could just shout it out, I'll repeat it. Is it better to unify where you're putting the money?
Yeah, you did it in your last podcast where you spoke about this, where it was Doctors for Choice were on and they were petitioning a bit for it. Is it not better to just go at it with a big fund?
Okay, so just for the listeners at home, is it better to go out with one big fund rather than lots of smaller pots? Is that possible? Is that practical? Yes or no?
Yes, in a way. I think so. SAFE, supporting abortion for everyone, is a sort of pan-Europe abortion fund. And they are helping people in Poland, in Malta. I think there's others I can't remember. I understand where the question is coming from. I think actually where we see the most resilience, though, is in the fact that community groups really understand their local needs and really know how to plug into people. So there's pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah, because in Ireland, in the referendum, there were several different organisations, especially by county, because Ireland is a small country, but there's so many different, different parts. So we all worked, because there was a referendum and there was something specifically to fight for, we all worked together. But it was like a load of different organisations who did their funding themselves and everything. So I don't know, I think that, I don't know why I'm answering, by the way, I'm not an expert.
No. I mean, I think what
oh no!
The short answer, just because we've got to get our musician on, I feel, do you want to just...
Really, really quickly, I think people should know here that the whole sector, including medical organisations, medical bodies, NGOs, grassroots bodies, are all behind decriminalisation for women up to gestational, at the end of gestation. So we are very united philosophically. We don't know what next, but right now, that's the critical thing that we need to focus on.
Decriminalisation, write to your MP, and put the stories out there. We don't have any more time because we've got a musician coming on to close. But can you just quickly join me in giving a huge round of applause to Dr. Felicia Yeung? And Lisa Hallgarten.
Can I just say very quickly, you're all together because you're here for, you've heard about what's going to be talked about. So when you're out there, go chat, go talk about what you can do, because it's great that we're all in a room together. I'll shut up now. But we're here. People chat shit, get stuff done. Anyway, bye.
It's true. Try and get involved with one of those groups. See if you can volunteer, raise some money.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one thing that everyone does, one thing. We all do one thing, and then, get involved with one thing. That'll really help. To close our show, we have a very special musician who's just dropped a song. Please stay on the stage and give a big round of applause to Buddy.
Hello, everyone. The first song we're going to do is called Tie Dye, and it was released in February. And I hope you like it. Even though you want it bad, you will never break me. I'm gonna keep on pushing back. I'm doing it on the daily, but I really wanna stay the night with you, babe. It's Nirvana, just what we could do, babe. But I only want you, dreaming about you, but I never gave it up for free. You won't get the best of me. I only want you, obsessing about you, but I never gave it up for free. Now when it's not meant to be, but it's got my heart, yeah, but it's got my heart already. It's got my heart, yeah, but it's got my heart already. I've seen you once, seen you twice, too many times before. I can't see you no more. Got me running through scenarios that we just can't explore. dreaming about you, but I never gave it up for free. You won't get the best of me. I only want you, obsessing about you, but I never gave it up for free. Now when it's not meant to be, but it's got my heart, yeah, but it's got my heart already, but it's got my heart, yeah, but it's got my heart already. I only love when it's sunset, but I'm a sucker for you, perfect. You're in South worship, but you know that I'm worth it. I did hear that it's worth it. Smell amazing, you're worth it. I caress and you're with it. Smell amazing, you're worth it. I gotta know what's what. I gotta know what's what. I gotta know if you kick it with me, it's just how it could be forever.
Buddy, everybody! Buddy,
Hi.
can you tell us where we can download your music, hear it, pay for it, ideally? How can we
Oh, yes.
access and support?
So Tie-Dye is already out. That's the song that you just heard, and it came out in February. You can stream it on all the platforms. My name is actually spelled BVDHI, if you're looking. It should be on all the posters. I'm on Instagram under buddy_music, and I haven't set up my Bandcamp yet, but when I do, buy it from there, because I get paid from there. So that's really handy for me.
Excellent. And do you want to quickly introduce your band before we hear the next fantastic song?
Yes, this is Gemma. She's on BVs, Makeda on BVs, and Nick's on guitar.
It was absolutely fantastic. We're going to go out on this next song. So after the next song, there's going to be a big round of applause, and that is the end of the show. So I just want to say, Buddy, thank you so much for coming, and Buddy's band, thank you so much for coming and playing for us. Absolutely stunning music.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, delighted. Alison.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Bit of promo.
Yeah. Did you? I forgot to ask you what to plug.
Oh, don't worry. So I'm doing a tour of Soup. It's going to be finished in May. Going to hit Liverpool, Glasgow, Edinburgh, all those things. Doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Doing 3 work-in-progress shows at the Monkey Barrel at various times in the last week of the Fringe. And new metal karaoke, where I'm going to get comedians to sing new metal songs.
It's all we want.
The worst of humanity will be there.
It's all we want. Buddy, you and your band are far too good for that. Please. Please.
We're not going to do the new metal version.
Not got any Papa Roach? No?
This song is...
Please,
we'll
take
do
us
requests
out.
afterwards if you've got extra
Yeah.
time.
Please take us out
Thank
with
you.
your next fabulous song. What is it?
It's called Antidote, and it's out tomorrow at 7 p.m. So go and grab it.
Take it away, buddy!
No, I'm the top of the ladder, the top of the ladder, but you leave me hanging. You could be moving much faster, moving much faster, but you keep me waiting for you. But they don't know you. They don't know you. They don't know you like I do. Baby, won't you realize that you're the remedy for me? You are the antidote for my love. Give it up. If you care, you wanna leave as soon as you were getting out of my bed. Oh, it's tempting, I won't punish you, 'cause I'ma take the punishment instead. I ain't gonna sway ya, but they all hate us, and I ain't gonna go nowhere. I ain't gonna go nowhere. You are the remedy for me. So you gotta give it up. You are the antidote. Give it for my love. Give it up. When you gonna give up the fighting? I'm the only one that you're liking. I'm the only one that fits right in. I'm the only one that gets it. And when you can't sleep at night, and I'm the antidote that lies beside you, just the perfect size. Symmetry is limited in your proximity. It's a privilege that can't be played with, even though you're playing. Put me at the top of the chain. Though you remedy some of my pain, we refrain, even though for my love. No, I'm the top of the, no, I'm the top of the, no, I'm the top of the ladder, but you leave me hanging. Baby, won't you realize that you are the remedy for me? So you gotta give it up. Give it up. Thank you.
Make sure you download that 7 p.m. tomorrow. This is Bunny. Thank you so much for all our guests tonight. I've been Deborah Francis Knight. Right, we've been the Guilty Feminist. Good night. This is the Guilty Feminist with me. It was on this one. Guest host Alison, Spittle, our very special guest Stella, Creasy, MP, Lisa Hallgarten, and Dr. Felicia Yeung. The music from Bunny. The recording engineer was Chris Sharp. The Guilty Feminist theme tune is composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Kunsky. The spontaneous shop thanks to Rachel Craftsman, Jean Dicio, Zainab Mohammed, and everyone at King's Place, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com. I don't know that. I don't know that.
No, he makes them pay. He just shirks his responsibility.
That's actually probably true. He's probably got Bupa. Tom, cut that out. Okay, all right.
They're free, guys, by the way. Abortions are free.
I know, of course they
Just
are.
saying.
I sort of meant he probably goes private, and then I thought, what am I saying? I don't know any of this. This is a joke. Shut up.
He gets them at Addison Lee to the clinic.
Probably that, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a nice meal at the Ivy to go, sorry. Sorry, I should shut up.
No. We'll have to.
We'll have to cut out so much time.
It's libelous. I started something I'm not prepared to finish.
The Guilty Feminist is provided exclusively from Acast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.